How you doing, guys? We are finally back with another Game of Thrones video. And I finally made another Game of Thrones versus. I would like to apologize for not posting for 2 months. I was extremely busy with school and sports, among other things, and I'm glad to be back. So once again, I'm sorry that you all had to wait so long for more content. Going forward with this channel, I think every other video I do will be on the Game of Thrones universe, as most of the people who watch my channel come for those videos. By the way, in this video, I will be judging these characters based off of the show, not the books. The first category is weaponry. Daemon wields a Valyrian steel sword called Dark Sister that was passed down through the Targaryen family. He also carries a dagger with him, but only uses it to kill people by surprise. Valyrian steel is the best steel there is in A Song of Ice and Fire. Jon Snow also used a Valyrian steel sword called Longclaw. It is a sword of House Mormont and was given to Jon by Lord Commander Mormont. Longclaw is wider than Dark Sister, but Dark Sister is sharper. But because Daemon has a second weapon and Jon doesn't, Daemon wins this category. The second category is intelligence and battle IQ. Daemon is very reckless and arrogant, but he isn't stupid. Daemon carries out many schemes throughout the show and further on. His ability to plan is very strong and efficient. He's very well educated and knows much of history and the world around him. Strategically, he's pretty smart. In the War for the Stepstones, he ended it by falsely surrendering and drawing out the leader of his enemies. While we consider this a war crime, it did work and it shows his intelligence in battle. He's also capable of adapting in battle in small ways. Jon Snow isn't known for his intelligence. Some would say he knows nothing. He knows right from wrong probably better than any other character in any Game of Thrones media. He's well educated, but he doesn't do very much that shows he's very intelligent. Battle IQ wise, he doesn't show any notable strategic thinking. However, he is able to improvise fairly well in battle when needed. Intelligence goes to Daemon, and Battle IQ goes to Jon Snow. Battle IQ was tough to choose, but Daemon just fights without honor, which surprises people. That is his strategic philosophy. While Jon is always able to adapt enough in fights to always either win or survive, no matter the odds. Now, on to armor. Daemon's armor changes a few times throughout the show, but we will be using Daemon as we see him when he returns to King's Landing after the War for the Stepstones has been won. Here, his armor covers his abdomen, and his shirt is made of a very thick material, as are his pants. And the armor looks to be fairly strong, but by no means impenetrable. His arms and legs could be cut fairly easily, but his abdomen would be much more difficult, but not impossible for Valyrian steel. Jon Snow wears a surcoat for armor. It's mostly made of a strong leather, besides the armor that covers his chest, which seems to be made of some metal, most likely steel or iron. Due to the surcoat, Jon's legs are protected fairly well, compared to most soldiers, although his arms are fairly vulnerable, like Daemon's. His chest is pretty well protected, although his abdomen doesn't have much actual armor on it. The leather is strong, however, it isn't as strong as actual armor. Armor goes to Daemon. The next category is experience. Since Daemon was a member of the royal family, he was formally taught how to fight, and was taught very well. He participated in many tourneys, so he's had his fair share of opponents. We don't know much about his success in tourneys. I don't think he's won a tourney, but he must do well in them, as he is often called the most dangerous man in Westeros, or one of the most dangerous men in Westeros. However, and I think many would argue, that this title isn't as valuable as it seems, because it isn't only due to his fighting prowess. And even if it was, the best fighters during House of the Dragon aren't as numerous or as good as the best fighters during Game of Thrones, in my opinion. Daemon was also commander of the City Watch of King's Landing. He fought in the War for the Stepstones, and he fought in the Dance of the Dragons. But his experience in the Dance of the Dragons will not be taken into account, as we are talking about Daemon before that. Jon Snow was taught to fight by Sir Roderick Cassel. He fights many wildlings, including Thenns and wargs, and he fought countless wildlings in the defense of the wall. He slayed many White Walkers, including 2 generals. He was the first man to kill a White Walker in thousands of years. He led men into the Battle of the Bastards. He led the world in the war against the dead. He fought for Daenerys Targaryen in her fight against Cersei Lannister. Jon Snow is a war hero, and even though he is younger than Daemon, he has far better experience, as he goes against many more opponents who have many different ways of fighting, and he doesn't have a dragon with him either. Experience easily goes to Jon Snow. Now, onto skill. Daemon is far above the average fighter of his time and skill. He's one of the best fighters of his time, or maybe even the best. But his dishonorable tactics and his physicality are what make him among the best fighters in the realm, not his skill. His skill is good, no doubt, but he definitely uses physicality more so. I wouldn't say his skill is exceptional compared to fighters during Game of Thrones, but during his time, it is. Jon Snow's skill increases throughout the show, and at its peak is legendary. He's known as one of the best fighters in the North. He fights soldiers from armies that are known for their skill in battle, like Lannister soldiers, Northmen, wildlings, White Walkers, and all these soldiers he easily cut down. He's among the best fighters in the show by the end of it. His skill isn't on the level of a fighter like Barristan, but is definitely very impressive. Jon also is a good fighter in hand-to-hand combat. Skill goes to Jon Snow. The final category is physical prowess. Daemon relies on his physical prowess in the final battle of the War for the Stepstones. He often used his speed and strength to help him win fights. Jon Snow uses his physical prowess in fights as well, often defeating his opponents due to his speed or endurance. Daemon is stronger than Jon as he is larger and taller, but Jon is more durable and has better endurance. Jon is more agile, and Jon's reflexes are probably quicker than Daemon's. Both are very quick in fights, and it is tough to choose, but speed goes to Daemon. So overall, I'm giving physical prowess to Jon Snow. Now here is a little summary of the categories before we set up the fight. Daemon narrowly beats Jon in the weapons category. Daemon beats Jon in intelligence by a good amount. He also has better armor, which is much stronger around the abdomen. Daemon is a little faster than Jon Snow, so he just edges him out in speed. And he's a lot bigger, so he wins strength quite soundly. Jon Snow just barely takes the cake for battle IQ, and he dunks on Daemon experience-wise. Due to Jon being alive in a better era of fighters, he's on a higher level of skill than Daemon. Jon has far better endurance and is much more durable than Daemon. He's also much more agile and has much quicker reflexes than his adversary. Overall, Jon has more physical prowess than Daemon. Now let's set up this fight. We will take Daemon Targaryen from Season 1, Episode 4 of House of the Dragon, when he returned to King's Landing after he won the War for the Stepstones. We will take Jon Snow from Season 8, Episode 6 of Game of Thrones, after the battle, but before he kills Dany and gets arrested. Both are fresh, both are armed with their usual weapons. For Daemon, his Dark Sister, and his dagger. For Jon, it would be Longclaw. This fight will take place in the fighting pits of Meereen. Thousands of people roar in excitement for the next fight. Daemon Targaryen walks out slowly. Looking at the crowd, he grins. Jon Snow walks out as well. He has never seen a crowd so big. The two are on opposite ends of the arena when a man yells for them to begin their fight. Daemon pulls out Dark Sister and walks quickly towards Jon, who walks hastily towards Daemon. When the two meet, they slam their swords together and begin a blade lock. Jon grunts as he pushes Daemon with all his might. Daemon pushes back, which causes Jon to stumble a few feet back. Daemon attacks Jon with powerful overhead swings. The last one, Jon dodges before he slides his sword into his enemy's leg, cutting Daemon's thigh. Jon begins the offensive, swinging his sword with much speed and strength at Daemon again and again. Daemon starts to feel overwhelmed, so he swiftly kicks Jon in the gut, who slightly bends over, and with a powerful stroke of his sword, he nearly ends the life of the war hero. But Jon blocks his attack by turning his sword sideways. He then pushes his blade up and forward and stands up. Jon goes on the attack, swinging Longclaw ferociously. Daemon struggles to defend against Jon. Jon has Daemon on the back pedal, and he nearly knocks Daemon's sword out of his hand with every swing. Eventually, Daemon knew he couldn't hold him off much longer, so he locks his blade against Jon's and pushes Jon back slightly. But Jon pushes his blade up quickly and spins and slams his sword into Daemon's, knocking it out of his hand. Jon kicks Daemon to the ground. Daemon reaches for his sword, but Jon puts his sword at Daemon's throat. Daemon grabs his dagger with his left hand and stabs Jon's right thigh with it. Jon grunts in pain, and Daemon rises to one knee and raises his blade to plunge it into the stomach of Jon. But Jon pushes his sword forward, slicing the face of Daemon. Daemon's right cheek bleeds profusely. Daemon yells in pain and rips his blade off Jon's leg and slides his blade across Jon's chest, to no avail. Jon punches Daemon in the face, unrelentlessly punching him with his right hand, while he held his sword in his left hand. Daemon begins to dizzy, and he drops his dagger. Jon pulls his arm back, far for each punch. Daemon noticed this, and ducks under his punch, and rolls to his sword. Daemon stands shakily, pointing his sword at Jon. Daemon walks quickly towards Jon, and swings at him wildly. Jon easily dodges each attack. Daemon breathes heavily, before overswinging hugely. Jon dodges the attack. While he swings his blade at Daemon, he cuts off his right arm. He then spins and impales Daemon and looks him in the eye. Jon pulls his sword out of Daemon as Daemon falls over dead. Jon Snow wins. Daemon was raised to be many things, a fighter included. But Jon Snow is a true warrior and is a war hero. He's fought in many battles and he's fought against opponents with higher skill than Daemon and won. Daemon's era of fighters isn't very impressive, while Jon's is, and Jon is considered to be among the best of his time. Jon just keeps fighting and just keeps winning. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. I'm live streaming this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be playing many different games, and I'll be discussing everything including Star Wars, A Song of Ice and Fire, DC, Marvel, Jurassic Park, Cobra Kai, and many other movies and shows. I'll also maybe discuss life in general. I'll answer questions from you as well. This is my first ever live stream, so please be sure to check it out. I'll be streaming on this channel, by the way. I've made a community post with more details. If the stream has 50 people or more on it, then I will make 2 Game of Thrones what ifs next month. Please like and subscribe for more content. Check out my Star Wars channel. The link to that will be in the description. Also, on my Star Wars channel, there's a Game of Thrones Versus in my Versus playlist. So, check it out, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.